Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this afternoon with our friend Mike Ziemer, all the way in Dallas of So What Fest. Welcome, and we're super glad to finally get you on the pod. It's been like a handful of months in the making.
Yeah, sorry. It's been a lot of crazy things going on. I feel like I've gotten sick like 5 times this year from like weather changes and allergies, and then I don't know, whatever. We're good. Yeah. We're on here now.
You're a busy guy, so we have you on mostly because we're going to talk about So What Fest because, like, damn, it's got everybody on it, and it's a huge festival, and it seems like it's mostly your creation, and you're the guy behind all of it. So. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about it and we can find out how busy you are.
Yeah, so obviously we've been doing So What Music Festival since 2008. We took a little bit of a break after our 10-year anniversary. We kind of got into a position where we didn't get any of the headliners that we wanted, and I feel like in 2017 the scene was kind of like reshaping itself. So if you didn't have one of like 5 headliners, it just probably wasn't going to be a successful event moving into 2018. So we decided to take a break, and then COVID decided that we were going to take a longer break. and now here we are. And when we did our last one in 2017, at least in Dallas, the idea was kind of like the scene is evolving, and we were going to hip hop shows and seeing like Suicide Boys and Puya and stuff like that. And like just the energy of the crowd was like that punk rock mentality that you saw at Warped Tour, where like everybody's moshing, everybody's crowd surfing. Like the whole culture was shifting to where like the hip hop scene was kind of like these guys are becoming rock stars, and like they're collaborating with people in the rock world and all that. And so we decided to put together a lineup that kind of reflected that. It's super confusing to people that are stuck in a little bubble of like, I only listen to pop punk or I only listen to metal. And they're like, what is this? But for like the majority of people, they're like, whoa, that's so cool that I can see Trippie Redd and I can see Sum 41. And like, it's kind of just like basically your Spotify Wrapped coming to life. At least if you're me, like I grew up on hip hop and punk rock in California. So like, to me, this is so normal. Like I'd go to skate and surf events, and like you have your hip hop artists, you have your punk artists, you have some like ska bands playing, and like, it was just like a cool mix. But yeah, I mean, me and my business partner, Orlando, decided that we just wanted to go this direction and kind of go bigger than we've ever gone, and really make a statement that like genre festivals and like niche festivals, they work very well. Like I'm a partner on Furnace Fest, and that's a very niche time frame period, but that moving forward with what's current and in the direction that music's going, there's boundaries being broken down every single day, and genres are kind of just becoming like almost obsolete. I mean, we wouldn't put like a country band in the middle of this festival. That probably wouldn't make too much sense, or like some folk singer or something like that. But for like everything that's kind of crossing over in the mainstream and things like that, like it makes sense. I don't know what cameras do.
Yeah, I honestly was like, there's a lot of bands on it I want to see, but the idea that I can see 2 Chainz is beyond any excitement that I've ever had. Like I fucking love 2 Chainz, and it's like, oh shit, he's gonna just be there. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean that was the same for us. Like I went back to California and lived there for a couple of years in LA, and we went to the observatory in Orange County and got to go to a 2 Chainz show. And one of my friends was like the production manager, so we were just hanging out backstage, and we didn't meet 2 Chainz, but we were hanging out with his dog, Trappy, during his set. like he's just back there like hanging out, waiting for 2 Chainz to get off the stage, and like, man, how cool would it be like to book 2 Chainz one day, and he just rolls up with his dog, and like now he's headlining our festival. It's crazy.
Trappy gets the VIP experience, and that's
do whatever
it. That's
he
all
wants.
that matters.
He's side stage, only person side stage, or only animal side stage, I guess.
Can't cramp his style. But back to like this festival lineup, because it kind of dropped around the same time as when we were Young Fest, and all over social media, everyone was like, these are two fake festivals. And I was like, I don't know if you understand what booking fest means, but a lot of it did come down to like, why is there rap and like pop punk crossing? And it was a lot of those people who were honestly just have like head ass energy, honestly, at the end of the day, who can't accept or wrap their minds around it. And I'm like, have you not listened to any new music that has come out within the last like 2 years? Because it makes sense. It makes sense in like our eyes personally to see it all blend together. I think coming out more because we have Riot Fest up here in Chicago, and like we have had like Wu-Tang on here. And we've had Snoop Dogg and other artists like that. But usually everyone's so like, this is a weird outlier. But like people are into it because it's just like a cultural phenomenon, basically. But to kind of see this and have actual artists that like, you know, at least myself listen to, and I know a lot of people listen to, and it's there to cater to this like wider range audience is really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you stopped listening to music, like new music in like 2015 or 2016, this is probably very confusing to you. But if you've kept up and you see like pictures of Trippie Redd hanging out in the studio with Polyphia and Dance Gavin Dance, and, you know, Black Bear working with Travis Barker, but also working with like DJs and pop punk and just like kind of all over the place. And then obviously like literally anything that Travis Barker has done over the last few years, it's like he's letting people who thought that they had to be pigeonholed to a certain genre express themselves in any way that they want to. Like the new Jaden Josiah song is like so sick, and you wouldn't listen to Jaden and listen to Josiah and assume that someone was ever going to bring them together to make like a really cool song, and it happened. And just like from someone that runs a studio and is around creative people all the time, like there's so much like hesitation in a lot of hip hop artists for them to express their like love of pop punk in their music. Like there's an artist that's on our festival who he makes like hip hop music locally, and he's been talking to me and he's like, hey, you know, I really want to do this like pop punk thing too. Like, do you think people would be into it? And I'm like, I think people are starting to really respect like being genuine in your music, and just like, there's a difference between, hey, I grew up on this and I really want to pay tribute to it, and like kind of just following a trend. So like, I think people are starting to understand like, and even with like, you know, pop punk artists and stuff, like Sleeping with Sirens did a collab with Machine Gun Kelly years ago before Machine Gun Kelly was like ever going to be in pop punk. And it was super cool the way that they did that. So I think if you've been paying attention to the evolution of music, that this is a really cool festival. And if you haven't been, I urge you to go to New Music Friday and go hit random on Spotify and just like see what's happening, because it's really cool seeing all these people come together. And I'm most excited to see what collaborations might happen both on stage and following the festival, because of people that meet each other backstage and are like, hey, I'm a fan of you. Oh, I'm a fan of you. And like never thought that that was like a thing.
You reminded me when you were talking about like, it was like when you're talking about growing up on this music, and like all these metal bands were like, I think this EDM thing is here to stay. I think we're going to just add a lot of EDM stuff into our music. And look, I did it. It was me, but I'm talking about myself here, but I'm also like, it just isn't like, it is a trend. It's a cool trend. It can be fun and interesting. And I just think everybody just has this idea of like what every band should be or what genre should be. And I'm the most happy I've ever been that people are finally dropping that shit. It's like, just enjoy a good song, enjoy talent, enjoy people from different backgrounds and places than you. And it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And it's been really cool for us. Like ever since we came out as like, hey, we're going to move this festival in this direction. Like we've had people like Adventure Club and Keizo and like people in the EDM world that are like, hey, you know, we would love to be a part of this. Like we would love to do some of these songs live that like people never get to see, that they've had collaborations with like half our lineup. And I'm excited to see what happens moving forward with the festival. Cause I mean, I wouldn't mind incorporating that as well. Like it all kind of just flows. The one thing that we didn't want to do though, is we didn't want to do like kind of dipping our toes in it, like we did in 2017, where there's like 5 hip hop artists and they were big, but like it wasn't enough. And I know like that's kind of how Warped Tour was. Like they had the Skull Candy stage or whatever the headphone company was for that year, and it was like, you know, here's a side stage that has this on it or whatever, and like everything needs to be equally as big, or it's not going to make the same effect, you know. But yeah.
And aside from that, you do a lot of other things too. So I mean, we like mutually followed each other on Twitter, but I think it's like the first like somewhat like further interaction that we have had. But you, especially like during COVID, you were still like putting things together. I mean, you also have a studio that you do a lot of production with. You have Third String Productions, and you also have like a management collective. So I think that is absolutely great. Like that is the energy I love personally of doing so many things at once. So how does this kind of like factor into everything, you know, you do and structure and kind of get everything done?
I'm just kind of like a crazy person. When I first got into music, it was like, okay, I'm interviewing bands, and then from interviewing bands, artists asked me to manage them. And so I was a manager, and then they're like, hey, we need concerts in the suburbs where our friends can actually go to them because we're all in high school. And I was like, okay, I'm a promoter now. And then a band was like, hey, we really want to put out music, but we're too broke for studio time. And I was like, okay, I'm a label now. Like it just kind of all like, it just became these things. And like, obviously like the amount of money that you put into a festival like this versus like a record label and things like that, they're very different. Like I would consider management and record label and even studio at this point as passion projects where I'm just trying to like help out artists and everything. But I do care about all of them equally. And it does kind of get stressful sometimes where it's like, okay, we're 2 months out from the festival. The festival needs all my attention, but I want to make sure that these artists aren't feeling left out, or I want to make sure that we're still booking studio sessions. And like, we have a marketing company as well. So I want to make sure that my marketing team is getting the things that they need from me. So in a normal world where COVID wasn't a thing, it was kind of like getting to a point where I had to kind of pick, you know, so my main thing was doing concerts and music festivals. But the one thing that I learned from COVID is that anything can be taken away from you at any moment, and you have to be able to adapt. And so I went from like depression naps and like long walks of like, all right, am I going to go get a normal job? Am I going to like go work somewhere else? Are there other jobs? To just like, I literally did what we're doing right now. Like I got on the phone with people every single day, and I was like, hey, I'm going to offer free consulting, and really it's just having conversations. Like, what can we talk about what we think is going to happen over the next year with this COVID thing, or how can we make artists successful on Spotify and digitally and live streams and things like that. And I just started talking to people, and I realized that I needed to be around people in a physical form. And that's where the studio idea came from. And it's still, now we have 2 studios, and I have a studio manager for each one. And I don't have to be like fully responsible for it. But at any point I can just be like, I'm not feeling creative today, so I'm going to walk in and just like kind of watch the studio session and like get inspired all over again. But it does make me a crazy person to try to do all these things at once. And I definitely couldn't do any of it without having a really good team for every aspect of it. Like I have somebody who's in charge of the marketing company. I have a full team for concerts and festivals. I have 2 people that are in charge of running studios. Like it kind of all just like, if I don't have a team, then it's fully on me. And like, even with management, I have a partner who's in LA, and he handles the majority of the work, and like he's tied in with publishing companies and things like that. So I guess it's crazy, but like organized chaos to try to balance all of this.
Yeah, it's inspiring from a place of like music being a general industry where you're like, if I'm not super passionate about this is going to suck. This is just going to be a complete drain of my energy and time. And there's not a ton of money in music industry, but you know, there's a lot of people that are, it seems like, passionate about the product, passionate about like what they're doing for everybody else. And yeah, so you're clearly like passionate about it, and the emotion behind it is obviously the thing that drives you. And in that case, I'm like, well, I've had this talk with a lot of people lately where it's just like, yeah, I know you do a ton of stuff. You got to have a team. And it's so hard to like find the people around you that are going to be in that team with you. So I don't know. The passion definitely helps, I think. It doesn't sound like you're a crazy person. It sounds like you're just like, no, I love this thing and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, so I started doing this when I was 18, and my first mentor told me that I would hate music within 5 years. And so I sort of like have thought about that my entire life. And I'm like, if I'm not a fan of music anymore, then I'm going to stop doing this. And like, I've been doing it. I'm 36 now. So like half of my life I've been a concert promoter, and I still love discovering music. I still love like finding a new favorite band to like champion and things like that. And I've kind of always lived with that because it would be so much easier to just be like, all right, it was fun. I spent half my life being an independent concert promoter. I'm going to go to a big ad agency or a record label or something and like actually get paid a ton of money to work in music. But I mean, it also goes back to like having my hands on a bunch of different things. Like I've had those conversations with the Live Nations and the AEGs and like bigger companies. And it always comes down to like, what's the one thing that you want to focus on if you work with us? And I'm like, I can't work for someone where I come into your office and my job is done at some point. Like, I don't know what that's like. I'm sure that that's something that most people enjoy where they're like, all right, I'm actually done early for the day. But like, I feel like the music industry is so constantly evolving and things are changing that like you can't just check out of it. Like you have to go to that show or that event or, watch that live stream or wait till 11 o'clock at night Central Time to hear the new music that's coming out and like decide what to add to your, festival playlist and things like that. Like I don't know. I wouldn't know how to concentrate on one thing and like just take a regular job, but I don't know. Ask me in 10 years if I still am passionate and doing it, and I might be somewhere else. Who knows?
I mean, that's like, I personally identify with that because I have like 4 jobs because I like to do all those different things all at the same time. And I that's just how I function. And I think it's fun and it's chaotic, but it's fun. But I think going back to your like mention of, all these people are in the music industry, and at a certain point they want to dip out because they don't find it fun anymore, or they like run their course because of that kind of chaotic lifestyle. But Ryan Seaman commented about you, first of all, like halfway leaking some more unannounced artists on So What? And he was like, you're the only person I know in the music industry who actually like enjoys their job. And I think about that so much because I mean, I teach students who are in music business and in radio, and they're like, I really want to be in it. And it's like, you have to be like really, like you gotta really fucking love it, guys, to do it. And I think that's like such a huge accolade for you to have.
I was reading, I don't remember what the article was, but it was like some of the older people in the music industry that have just been like doing it for years, like wealthy and successful and could have retired 20 years ago. And they just talk about how like they have friends that stop working in the industry and like your happiness dies and like your life just starts kind of going downhill when you leave it, because there's still like, even as a wealthy, successful, like top of the food chain music industry person, if you do love what you're doing, there's nothing that fills that hole inside of you when you decide to walk away from it. And I thought that was really interesting because sometimes you feel like you see people at the top that are like on these fancy yachts and hanging out, and it's like, oh, they're just doing all that for like the press photo. But really, they're sitting around with the same type of minds that still love music, still love creating, and thinking of these cool things that they can do to keep innovating in the music industry. And I think I sometimes like stand up for them a little too much when they get called out as like greedy and things like that. And people are like, oh, you're just sympathetic to billionaires. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I think they're like, some of these people are geniuses. And like I feel like Steve Jobs walked away way too early. Like he could have gotten, the medical attention and all of that, but he was just done. And he wanted to just like go out on his own terms. But that's an example of someone who's like brilliant mind, could have done a million more things. And I think there's a lot of people like that in the music industry that like they might be on the cusp of being done. And then like COVID happens and like, wow, this whole new metaverse and live streaming and all this, like I have ideas for this. I can't quit now. You know what I mean? Like there's always something new. And like in my lifetime, it's gone from vinyl to tape to CD to downloading illegally to monetizing streams to now like throwing concerts in this world that doesn't exist except for on your, computer or in your VR or whatever. And it's like, there continues to be ways for people who have been through all of this to say like, back then, this is what we did and we can apply that to this and it would be really cool. And like, I love to see that. And I hope that, maybe at double my age, I'm still coming up with ideas that people, support and think are crazy, but cool.
So when's the first VR festival, Mike?
There's like, they all exist and it's crazy because somebody emailed me the other day and they're like, we own the virtual reality land that's over Choctaw Stadium. If you want to talk about how we can bring this into the metaverse. And I was just like, my brain just exploded. I'm like, I'm going to let my like tech savvy media team handle this and figure out what this even means. But I think the first taste of that was like when Marshmello threw that Minecraft concert or whatever. And like, everybody was like, oh, this is a thing. And like, then you start going back to like, when you played Sims or like any kind of game where your whole goal, like even like Sim City from its initial thing of like, oh, I want to have the biggest city or like whatever, like there was this whole concept of creating something that you live inside online. It just wasn't like what it is now. And you weren't paying like millions of dollars for like a plot of virtual land. It's all confusing to me because I feel like half of it is like cool innovation and the other half is just like, kind of a weird flex of like, I can spend this much money on a digital thing that you can just screenshot and make your background anyway. But that's the boomer in me talking, I guess.
Look, I'm 35. I firmly agree with it.
I'm a big early adopter person, especially with tech, but at a certain point it's going to be like, come on guys, like,
The thing that made me understand NFTs and why they were cool was like, the first time this season that I went to a Dallas Mavericks basketball game, I got an email that said, your NFT is here. And I was like, oh, cool. It's like a really like 8-bit version of my favorite basketball players. So it's like a digital sports card. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I'm probably never going to do anything with it. And then I like started looking and people are buying these for like thousands of dollars. I'm like, oh, well, maybe the Mavs will go to the playoffs and this will become even more valuable. Like, I'm just going to hold on to it. But it's like, it's so, I don't know. It's all strange, but it's cool at the same time. Like, oh, those baseball card images that we're putting up, everyone's like, those have to be NFTs. Your characters have to be NFTs. You're missing out on so much money. I'm like, but if I go teach myself with 2 months before the festival, everything I need to learn about NFTs, then the festival's not going to do well because I'm going to be distracted learning all this. I'm like, you want to come on and help me with this? Go for it.
Make every single performer, they have their own So What NFT. And then everyone's going to be like, what do I do with this? And we're going to be like, I don't know, have a good time.
I know people were like, can your VIP include an NFT? And I was like, sure. So we're including NFTs. I don't know what people are going to do with them, but like, it's cool.
You get
like,
them.
I feel like the ghost behind you would be like a cool NFT. Like I would buy that. That's cooler than,
it's
than all
Cassie, it's Cassie Pottish. So I really like this little ghost boy. I was waiting for it to come back in stock because I love him.
It's just with the coffee and everything. It just reminds me of the Wonder Years. So
and it's just Inception.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There is so much that could be done with NFTs. I think that there's a lot of potential, but like people are just so annoying about it on the internet. And I'm just like, I can't watch anymore about this NFT stuff because I don't like anybody who bitches about it. And I don't like anybody who's really passionate about it.
To me, it like reminds me of like, say that the original Nintendo just came out. And everyone is an expert about video games and they think they know everything about it, but they have no idea how much video games are going to evolve over the next 20, 30 years. They just think that they know everything right now that there is to know about it. And that's what I don't like because it is a very new space. And I feel like it's just the conversations are full of buzzwords and things that are condescending if you don't know what you're talking about. So like, yeah, can you try to explain this to me? And instead of being like, oh, it's like a digital collectible and like just putting it in simple terms, it's like, well, there's all of these transactions that happen and this, and then I'm like, I don't know anything about security layers and all that. And like, I actually think that I lost like $300 trying to transfer cryptocurrency to like get it onto the right thing to like support my friend's project. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not buying this because I think I just lost all my money. But it's so confusing. Like, and then there's like gas fees and stuff. I'm like, I can download pictures for free. What do you mean there's a gas fee? Like, it's also like over my head. And if you're listening and you know everything about NFTs, please email me, and there's a job for you because it's hurting my brain to try to figure this out. So,
and please don't email us. I don't want to know. I'll live in ignorance.
We had Matt Squire on, and he has emo coin, and he was like trying to explain to us like that, and I'm like, my brain cannot right now, my guy.
Like, I still think the mining thing just doesn't make sense. It's like, wait, so you make it just by leaving computers on, and then you just like have money? But what are you making?
And so I don't know. So one of my old business partners and like really good friends, he was telling me years ago about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and like he was using it on the dark web, not for anything insane, but just
let's preface that.
I think he was like
dark web.
I think he was buying weed or something. Yeah, like, so he was like, hey, this is going to be the future because it's like undetectable currency and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And I think he sold like all of his Bitcoin the first time around when it hit like $1. And then he kept telling me like, hey, this is actually like, you should invest in this. You should invest in this. And like when Bitcoin was $500, he told me to do it. And I was like, I don't know, $500 for this like digital thing. I don't get it. And now I'm like, you idiot. Just listen to your tech friends that are smart. And like he does all the mining and stuff. And he's like, yeah, my electricity bill is pretty expensive because I have like all these computers running 24/7. And I'm like, well, I mean, if it's offsetting it, then cool. But I don't understand it. Like it's chaos.
It's all just chaos. And this is like the time in my life where I'm like, yeah, I'm finally getting to that age where I think that the new thing is dumb and I don't get it. And so it's bad.
But we're just missing out if we don't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
all these.
That's why I keep telling my friends that like are really hardcore on pitching me these things. I'm like, if you want to come work for my company and be in charge of this department and it ends up making us money, cool, let's do it. But please don't try to educate me to be the one in charge of it because I throw concerts. I was out last night until 1 a.m. still passing out flyers at people leaving venues. Like I am handing physical flyers out and you're trying to tell me I need to be in this digital world doing NFTs. Like you handle that.
Yeah.
I hire out people for that. So to get back on things that we all very clearly know about, you also help put together the Emo Night LA down in Dallas. So we do that up here in Chicago too. And I want to ask a very important question to me and me only. Do people go off for when you play Kenny Hoopla down there? Because they do not up here, and it's very offensive.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like our crowd varies. It's strange. So we do Dallas, we do San Antonio, we do Houston, we do all of Texas, and then we partner with Austin, who does all the Midwest. So we have all these different markets, and Texas is very much like metalcore. Did you go to the Vegas one?
No, we had friends who did. We are going to when we were Young Fest, so we have that.
So we did the Vegas Emo Night, and Orlando and Jay opened up with Jay performing Ruckus by his band, and everybody went insane. Like, aside from like Morgan and TJ and stuff, like I feel like they kind of stole the show more than like even the bands that played, because everybody was just kind of like watching the stage for the next artist to play during most of DJ sets. It was kind of like almost house music, but they got everybody to turn around. There's this crazy pit, and then they did like System of a Down and more stuff. So like we're really like a heavier market. Like the metalcore, like Pantera's from here. That's kind of like a big part of it. But like that goes over really well here. But when we do play some of the new stuff, like people start understanding it as we like play it over and over again. It becomes a thing, not just with Kenny Hoopla, but like a lot of the artists that are like that are like kind of the up and coming, like the next generation. It goes over really well. But we have 3 different rooms that we use for Emo Night. So we have like live bands playing in one, we have our main stage and special guests in another, and then we have like the deep cuts room, which is where I can play like Armor for Sleep and things that like most people probably don't know. Like I'll play Juliana Theory in there. I'll play things that were cool when I was going to shows. So that's what gets my friends out. But yeah, it's fun. Every market's different too. Like sometimes Houston is like the craziest market, and then sometimes like it's very, very strange and like no one's moving, and we're like, why did you just pay to come stand in a room? Like, I don't know. The Emo Night brand overall is like this crazy thing to me though. Like I moved to LA right before they had their 1 year anniversary and became friends with TJ and Morgan and Babs and started going to all of those. And then like we obviously asked if we could like partner with them to do Texas, and we like made it our priority event. And we're like, oh, I don't know how long this like Emo Night thing is going to go. Like, are people going to continue to care in a year or two? We'll see. And like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's really cool. Like, to me, because I don't know if it's like a statement that people are tired of checking out new music, or just people are wanting to experience those songs that never got to go see My Chemical Romance, or it's just people tired of going to venues that are playing hip hop and pop music, the same songs over and over again. Like I can't figure out the formula that makes Emo Night so great, but it's like literally my favorite thing. And I like count down the days for it. Like we have ours next week with JT from Hawthorne Heights and the Ready Set. And I'm just so excited to like hang out with those dudes, because I haven't seen either of them in like a million years.
Yeah, we just had JT at ours on Friday, and I was like, I love Hawthorne Heights with my whole ass heart. So I was like, oh my God, hello.
Was it the first time you met him?
I met him because I've always gone to Hawthorne Heights concerts. So my first concert to see Hawthorne Heights was at the Zoomies Couch Tour in 2010. And I met him there, and then I met him at the If Only You Were Lonely anniversary tour. But I didn't like talk to him. But like this time I could be like, oh, like we're working this event. Like, hey, what's up?
By the time he started doing Emo Nights, it was just strange to me because that was my first meeting of him. And he's just like this calm, collected, chill guy. He's like very intelligent to talk to. He's so kind. And I was just like, as someone that used to listen to your music and like scream it at the top of my lungs, like in that like definition of emo phase, and then to just meet you and you're just like normal, cool, chill dude. I'm like, this is so weird. Like, but he's one of my favorite people that we have out. Him and Aaron Gillespie, Hello Goodbye, and yeah, those are probably my favorites that we have, and we invite them out a lot.
Yeah, we really want like the Chicago one to be a lot like that too, and just have our rotation of people and having very nice people behind the scenes, and we're helping to advance it there. We hope that we can make it that, but yeah.
What venue do you guys use up there?
SubT.
Yeah, Subterranean.
How big is that?
It's not big.
No, there's an upstairs that is like the upstairs SubT where we have the main Emo Night. So then you just like walk upstairs and watch and like look down, but there's no secondary stage. There's a secondary stage downstairs, but it's kind of separated, and the downstairs is smaller than the upstairs. So there's that. And it isn't unfortunately as accessible because it's all just stairs. So we also kind of have that.
Yeah. It's a great venue for
nice,
like,
though. So
yeah.
we work with it and we do what we need to do. But you know, we understand. We work with what we have.
For everybody from SubT that's watching us right now, we love you.
I want to come up there for one of those. I love Chicago. Chicago is a great city.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's super fine. It's
super fun.
Look, we know it's cold and it's been raining and it's been just kind of cloudy. So it's like,
it's a gorgeous day today. It's like a cool 40 degrees. I can put on a hoodie and go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 86 degrees here, and I'm going to WrestleMania in a couple hours.
Yeah, we better move on to something else then, because I don't want to hear about warmth and sunshine.
See, I love cold though, so I'm weird. Everyone's like, you would hate New York. It's always cold. And I'm like, I want to move to New York more than any other city in the world. Like, I want to experience it. They're like, but it gets cold and it's so many people. I was like, I love people. Love being surrounded by people. Like, you're naming all the reasons I would go.
Yeah.
You're like, I see no issues here.
Chicago, though, Chicago's a different type of cold. Like, that should just be illegal. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's the real Chicago violence, is just how cold it gets.
Yeah, that's the only Chicago violence, actually. Isn't that crazy?
Only one.
So with that, since we're kind of, you got your hard, 3:30 out, who are, if you're able to leak anymore, who are some of these other artists that have been floating around the internet on these flyers that have not been publicly announced yet, if you can say it?
Chase Atlantic. They are playing kind of like co-headline with Black Bear. We Came as Romans, Plotting You, Palais Royale, Swaco. I guess we actually announced Swaco. Lolo. My boy Riley. He's not a big artist, but he's amazing. He actually tours with Black Bear's team and everything, and he's really awesome. One of the ones I'm excited about, that I don't know if people know who he is, but Eric the Architect. He is one of the members of Flatbush Zombies, and he is going to be doing a solo performance, and he's like incredible. Very good artist. That'd be on the hip hop side. But other than that, we have one big one that's going to be announced this week. I just can't say it anywhere right now.
Fair.
Yeah, don't need any more emails.
It's funny because I feel like that tweet probably deterred me from getting the emails. Like, someone was mad and then they saw the second tweet and they're like, never mind, I don't want to be that guy.
It's permission. It's just like, I can send him that me one.
About.
Yeah.
And we also had an online question from Faith, also a friend of the pod. They work with you. We love them. About how do you stay motivated when you are feeling unmotivated?
I watch Faith's TikToks.
Love it.
I'll do it.
I don't know. I mean, my team sees me like leave and like go lay down on the beanbag and just kind of like chill for a bit. I think one of my favorite things to do is look back at like our old flyers and old festival stuff. And like, if I'm having a day where I'm like, man, I really thought that this show would be doing better, this festival would be doing better, I like go back and kind of like look, and I'm like, wow, remember when 99% of our ticket sales were walk up and everyone waited till the last minute? Or like, that was really our headliner on that festival, and now they would be like an opener. Like, it's just really cool to see like how far we've come as a company. And then obviously like just being in our office and looking around, and like the fact that I went from like having a desk at my house to sharing an office / living place to having like a whole dedicated spot that has like a studio in it and creative stuff, and like having a whole team that like relies on me and everything. Like, I don't know. You just find like different ways to get motivated. Sometimes it's as simple as walking outside and it's like, I've been staring at a screen for so long. Let me get some sunshine and like realize that life's not that bad. Like, but it can be defeating sometimes, because being a promoter is like a very thankless job. Like, the agents just want more money from you. The artists want to know why their show isn't doing as well. Like, the venues are like, oh, we need to up this expense. And like, you're just sitting over there like, well, I hope we can get like a small piece of the pie for like doing all this work. And obviously it's a good career, and I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't. But sometimes like that does overwhelm you, where you just kind of feel like when going from a promoter became a talent buyer, like they just kind of like minimized your title to like, oh, you're just the guy that does that. It's like, no, we actually like rent out the venue, put all of our money on the line, like handle all the marketing, like every aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, there's several ways. Sometimes it's just like literally closing the computer, getting off the phone, and like watching a TV show.
Just stepping away from it.
Yeah.
Touching grass.
I do like, this is my favorite time of the year, because I'll go actually like, I like speed walk like the mall ladies. Cause I'm not really good at running. I did soccer for so long. I got like bad knees. I'll kind of like jog, walk. And there's a park not too far from me where I can like do 2 laps, and it's like 5 miles. So I did that yesterday, and it just like the serotonin that you get and everything. You're just like, let's go. Everything is great.
Oh, once the weather gets better here, I'm looking forward to the serotonin too.
How many months of like good weather do you get?
Like what, 4?
It's like off and on.
It's like there's increments. It just flips back and forth.
Yeah. I lived in Sweden for a few months. I love telling people about that. I lived in Sweden, and like it's obviously they have. It's not as cold all year, but it is like rainy pretty much all the time. Especially the town I lived in. I guess they have the highest amount of rainfall in just that city, and I'm like, cool, good thing I live here for just all this rain. But the people would always, I mean, there's a lot of like restaurants and that all have patios. People sit on the patio all year round. They have heaters, they have blankets. They're just like, hey, if we can be here, we're going to be here. We just want to make it like the best that we can of what we get, and this is all we get. So they are very like, yeah, we're gonna go sit on a patio wearing a blanket. It's like, but why? You can go home. You can just be at home where it's warm. I don't know, but it was it's quite a sight to see. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in where it's warm and not raining. Like, damn. But yeah, I think we do it here. Like, we just find our opportunities. We make the most of it. We just, if it's like, oh, hey, we got a couple hours, we're going to go and do a little, sit on a patio. And it's like, well, it's going to rain again. Let's never go outside again.
Yeah. I went up there for Lollapalooza in 2019, and my fiance has friends that were like working the festival and live up there. And like after the festival, we somehow ended up on someone's boat, and we were like out in the lake, and like just kind of like looking at the city from a distance is like so beautiful, and like not what I expected to do. Like, normally you go to a festival and then you go to the after shows and then you're tired and then you wake up and do it all over again. So taking that break and like being on there, I was like, man, Chicago is beautiful. Like, this is cool, but this is frozen half the year. So.
Yep. Frozen. And
now, Brian, when we go to Lollapalooza inevitably this year, how do we end up on a boat? Because that's never happened.
I
make friends with everybody until someone tells you that they have a boat.
Yeah. And then if somebody says like, oh, I definitely don't have a boat, you just like, okay, we got to like go make some more friends.
Away.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
It's like that TikTok sound.
Like,
you see a toxic person, we're walking the other way. No boat, other way. Get out of here. Where's the one with the boat?
The thing is, like, you telling a story about like, oh, I randomly ended up on a boat. I was like, yep, that's how it works. Just randomly end up on a boat. Just like sometimes just like, oh, how'd I get on a boat? Look, we have Badger said boats are boring. Look, we have a lake that we treat like an ocean. We don't live in Florida. We don't live on the coast. We got a fucking lake. I'm bringing my
Dramamine and we're ready to go.
Yeah, well, we got like 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that we are utilizing your time, but I want to also get some plugs in here. Where can people find any information on the internet if they want to get tickets to the show? Where can they do that? Where can everybody find out more about you and So What and everything else?
I'd say just go to sowhatmusicfestival.com, and then if you can do even the smallest amount of internet detective work, you can go to So What and then see how many times I retweet myself and find me there.
Yep.
You can also prove to yourself it's not a fake fest. If you're so concerned.
Definitely a real festival. I don't know. Like I've watched some goofy TikToks about why the festival is not real, and I'm like, all right, well, when it happens, you're going to be bummed.
Wait, what? They were there?
It's so weird. I mean, like I get it with the When We Were Young festival, because the graphic like just doesn't look real. When I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, no, someone's trolling. And then you click the link, you see who's behind it. You're like, yeah, this is Live Nation and like the partners that put on all these other festivals in LA and Vegas. So it's definitely real. Like, they do a great job. They book tons of amazing festivals, and this one is the craziest thing that they've ever done.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. We actually, like, when that sold out, we saw like such a spike in ticket sales that same weekend because people were concerned that we were going to sell out, which is cool because everybody everybody seems to think that like music festivals are a competition, and if one festival is doing well, then you should be mad about it. But to me, it's like the entire ecosystem. It's like if there's 10 venues in a city and they're all sold out, that's the best possible situation. Whether someone's going to their 100th concert or their first concert, like they're reminding themselves that they love going to live music, and your concert could be next. And it's kind of the same situation with festivals. Like if this festival comes out and puts emo music and pop punk music and all that in such a big spotlight, that's good for everybody, whether you're an artist, whether you're a festival promoter, whether you're a concert promoter. Like you see that this is back on top and it's sold out 3 days, I believe 3-4 days, whatever it is. And then you see, oh, well, a bunch of these bands are playing another festival, or this tour is happening, or whatever. Like you're going to get your tickets, you're going to go support, because you're realizing like, oh wow, like I might not be able to like decide at the last minute for this. But it's really cool. It's awesome to see like how much our music scene that has a roller coaster of going up and down is pretty much like peak early 2000s right now with like popularity. I refuse to give Machine Gun Kelly all the credit. He gets some of it, but I don't think he should be on the cover of every magazine as like the savior of rock and roll. Like if anything, it should be Travis Barker.
Oh, yeah.
The guy behind the scenes who doesn't get all the credit.
And like shout out, K Thrash from Escape the Fate for all the work that he's been putting on to records like that and working with Travis Barker. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize. And like, again, that's one of those kind of like thankless things of the music industry, is that there's 10 people in a room and one of them is going to shine. But there's just so many artists making great music. And like you have, like you said, Kenny Hoopla, like perfect example of someone that is highly underrated and should be way up there right now. Like I would have loved to see him get taken on another Machine Gun Kelly tour or something like that, other than the lineup that's out. But that is a mainstream pop punk kid's dream, that tour. But yeah, I mean, what a time.
What a time. Well, yeah, go to the website, get tickets. I'll make like, hey, it might sell out, it could. That's a potential thing. And you don't want to be left on the street. Yeah. You could, have a great time. You just got to get a ticket, and,
yeah,
it could
that's
not
the thing
be.
about our festival is a lot of the sales are last minute, but we definitely have sold out before. It's been like the week of, but man, we had a indoor venue one year and we had over 1,000 people trying to get in, and I was like, nothing we can do.
Don't be those 1,000 people, guys.
Yeah, don't be like thousands of others. Well, yeah, go check it out. We're excited for it, and Mike, thank you so much for finally coming on, and I'm glad the internet kept you here for the majority of it.
I'm glad we got through all that.
Yeah, man.